It is Wednesday, my dudes.
Welcome to omitdefeatradio. I am your glorious host, editor, and main host, Anil Dean. And joining me today is your producer, co-host, Storm Cool.
Always a pleasure, Dean.
Took a while to say that, huh?
I was thinking it.
Stuff. So today we are going to be talking about a kind of great show. It's actually a good show, and caused quite a lot of controversy in its first day out. In that first episode, quite a bit of controversy, but that was due to a mistake on the production team's part, and that is Goblin Slayer.
Goblin Slayer is a story of our time.
Yeah.
It's a defining story, a great story,
Yeah.
an enjoyable story.
Yeah, it sure is.
And these are not the cute kind of goblins from Noddy that you might remember.
Oh yeah, definitely not. So Goblin Slayer is a story that, well, I'm reading the manga as well,
Of course.
and its spin-offs. Of course I am. Yeah. But I actually saw the anime first, the first season anyway, and I am gonna tell you it was different, and I like the difference that came with it. There was a whole controversy regarding the first episode, but that's only because it was released with a PG-13 rating instead of the actual rating. After the whole debacle, they rectified that, saying, "No, there was a mistake." So I kind of feel sorry for all the kids that saw that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, and dude, those kids are scarred.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the story of Goblin Slayer is actually named after the titular. The character is named Goblin Slayer. In this story, everybody is not given actual names. They are named after what they do. That's what everybody, character classes basically in D&D. Main character is Goblin Slayer. We don't know what his actual name is. He is an interesting character.
A unique individual.
Yeah. His backstory. Oh yeah, by the way, spoilers. As always.
Yeah, whatever. Spoilers.
His backstory is that when he was a kid, I think around 10 or something, he witnessed his village get attacked by goblins. Everybody was murdered,
His entire family.
which was his sister. Not quite sure what happened to his parents. Were his parents there as well? I think, because I only know that his sister was there. I think his parents died before the whole attack, and he was with his sister, who was actually basically a guardian.
She was the only family
He had left. He also had a friend who had this one friend, but she was out of town at the time because she went to the city to visit family or something with her uncle. But when she came back, her family, her mom and dad, also were killed in the incident. But Goblin Slayer, that attack just changed him for life, because he went out and he got training from this creepy looking dude, which you get to see later in the season. I believe his name is Burglar. He trained Goblin Slayer for I think it was like a decade or so, because it was about 10. Because by the time you see him, he's about in his 20s, so it was about 10 years he got trained by this guy. And Goblin Slayer, as his name suggests, hunts goblins.
What he does.
That's all he does.
He's not interested in anything else.
Yeah, and he's very effective at this. Very effective at what he does. And the thing is, just like most RPGs, fantasy role-playing games, and D&D stuff, there's a ranking system, which determines what kind of rank you are as a player or an adventurer. And here, he's not at the lowest rank. I think he's somewhere in the middle.
Silver.
Yeah, he's a silver rank, which is about. It's not a bad rank. It's actually a good rank. You're actually a very seasoned Most seasoned adventurers have that rank, and the only reason why he's only stuck at that level of silver is because he primarily just focuses on killing goblins. He would be of a much higher rank, possibly second highest level at this point, but because of his single-minded goblin slaying thing, he's only stuck at silver, so he doesn't get the kind of respect he would.
Yeah, he's a bit of a joke in the community.
Yeah, but everybody knows that he is effective as a fighter, but they do joke around with him only because of his single mindset of attack, killing goblins. They see him as sort of like the crazy guy in town who's always going the end is nigh kind of thing, even though he doesn't actually do that. He just fights goblins. That's it. That's all he does. And in the first episode, he actually ends up saving Priestess, which is this little girl. She's about 15 in this show.
And this is also her first quest that she's ever been on.
Yeah, she joins another group, small party, also beginners, and they go goblin hunting because that's what everybody in this world, beginners, go goblin hunting. Just like some other RPGs and fantasy role playing games would start you out hunt with either rats or goblins as your first time out. But this show quickly shows you that in this world, people have vastly underestimated goblins. And these goblins are vicious. And they are cunning, but mostly vicious. Deceptive little
bastards.
Yeah. So they make quite a quick work of this fledgling noob party. Goblin, lucky for Priestess, Goblin Slayer shows up and he basically saves her because she actually gets out of it better than most everybody else. The most she got is like a traumatic experience of seeing what happens to everybody else,
which we won't go
too deep into. One of the other party members actually also gets saved, but she went through some rough stuff. But Goblin Slayer got there, and Priestess basically joins up with Goblin Slayer, though he doesn't actually want her there, but he just tags along anyway. I feel it's more because she feels indebted to him, and she just wants to help him, and she actually has skills that are useful to him. As a priestess, she has some healing knowledge. She has quite nice prayers.
She basically can protect him.
Yeah.
And other party members.
So she's basically a support character.
She's not much of a fighter. She's more there to support
him.
The others.
And I feel like he doesn't actually shove her away because he sees that value of her, which is great for him because it just allows him to do his job a lot more effectively. And then we get introduced to his other allies, which is this girl called Cowgirl, who was his old friend, the one who was not there for the goblin attack back in the day. So he actually ends up staying at her farm with her and her uncle. He pays rent to the uncle. The uncle doesn't really like him much, but it's not that he has some sort of personal grudge against him. The guy actually doesn't like him because of his single-minded goal. It's more of like I think for him personally, he wishes that if Goblin Slayer didn't have this goal of his of eliminating goblins and he was just a normal ordinary guy, the uncle would have zero problems with him at all. What the uncle is afraid of is that Cowgirl is wasting her time on him. That's what he's really against. He just feels that she's just wasting her time on him because he's just so steadfast with this whole Goblin Slayer thing. But Cowgirl is really determined to, I guess, save him from himself. And I feel like she also feels kind of guilty as well, because they had a fight that day before she went to the city. And I guess maybe she feels that maybe she wanted him to come with, but because they had that fight, she couldn't invite him to come with. So I feel like she feels that if they didn't have that fight, she could have invited him to come with. He would have gone with her, and he wouldn't have had to go through the experience. Even though it would have happened anyway, but at least he wouldn't have been there to experience it, in a way, you know. So that's just her. You also got like a bunch of other people there.
There's a lot of supporting characters.
Yeah,
basically.
and all of them are interesting in their own fashion. They have their own histories. This is actually quite a well-built world, with its own history and lore, which no one really touches on, but it's there. The character of Goblin Slayer is really the draw. Personally, like, you find yourself wanting to follow his story more often. Later in the series, actually, I think it's like the next episode, really, second episode, he gets joined by 3 other characters: a elf, a dwarf, and a lizard priest, lizard man guy. They're great characters. I love the dwarf and the lizard dude. They have a great dynamic amongst themselves and with the other characters.
Because they both use magic in a way,
Yeah.
so they complement each other
Quite
very
nice.
well.
Yeah.
And they are more, look, they do get
Combat.
get into combat, but
Not physically. It's more with the magic stuff.
They will get physical if necessary.
Yeah.
But it's more magic that they use.
Yeah. Most of these characters are mostly there as sort of support in ways.
Yeah, Goblin Slayer himself, he's like the tank character. And then the priestess and the high elf, they are like his range
Support.
Priestess
is support. The high elf is the archer, which is obviously the range attack guy. The shaman and the priest share the typical mage roles as well. So it's a nice, well-balanced group. It's very D&D fantasy role-playing, kind of setting here. So it kind of works with those rules. As for the elf archer chick, she annoys me a bit. And the reason for that is that she's so heavy-handed in trying to change Goblin Slayer. Because she wants him to be more of a typical adventurer than what he actually is. And I get where she's coming from, because everybody kind of sees the self-destructive nature of what Goblin Slayer is doing, despite the good he's doing. And I understand, like, pulling him back, so that he's not so self-destructive, even though he's still doing what he does, but just not in a self-destructive manner. That's what they're attempting to do, which I commend. I just find that the way the elf chick goes about it is, it's just an annoying, self-righteous kind of manner, in a way. I'm not really self-righteous, but it's just, I don't know. She's got like this weird aura of.
She comes across as a little bit of an activist at times.
Yeah.
Because later on in the series, they actually start talking about how Goblin Slayer is actually just killing the goblins now. He's just killing them, whereas before he would be either burning them or blowing them up or drowning them, which is, a little bit disturbing. But I don't really know how to word it, but they've got him to stop torturing them, basically. And and I can understand why he would torture them, because
Yeah, what?
he wants to send a message to the rest of them. But now, she, the high elf, and the priestess character, they actually both talk about how they're happy he's just killing them now and getting it over and done with,
Yeah,
as
they've
opposed to
they've imposed restrictions on him, such as he's not allowed to use certain
no
methods,
fire,
no
drowning,
no
torture.
and stuff like that. And there was one, see, I think it was an episode, I don't remember which it is, but he actually does a pretty rough way of dealing with them. And he actually says to them, yeah, it didn't involve any of the things that
Yeah,
they restricted
he
him to
found
do.
a workaround.
Yeah, a loophole in the whole system. And they were pretty upset about it, but he just said, yeah, well, it's none of that stuff. Which upsets the archer because she couldn't argue against it. But yeah, I mean, look, I get what they're doing. I just feel like if she wasn't as, I don't know, just not as heavy-handed about it as she was. I would have liked it a little better. But overall, I don't know. I just really didn't find anything all that wrong with what he was doing. Because the goblins are vicious little creatures, and for me, I just find that if whatever works, do it, you know. If you whatever works to just get rid of them, just do it.
Yeah, the thing is, it's a necessary evil what he does.
Yeah.
Because nobody else will do it. Not at the scale he does it anyway.
Yeah.
Because you can't just leave a goblin. They will come back for you.
Yeah.
And he has to go after the goblin men and the goblin women
And the
and the
women.
goblin children too.
There's no
Because
women.
they will deceive you. They are vicious as
Yeah.
well. There is a scene where an adventurer has pity on a goblin and turns away, and the moment she has her back turned, it immediately attacks her. So they will not think twice about sparing your life. So you should not think twice about sparing theirs. It's you or them. There's no way out of it.
Yeah. Another thing with the whole Goblin Slayer story is that in the background, there's the typical adventure story that's also happening, where you hear mention of it. Where they're talking about like there's this group that's going after the demon lord or whatever, and the typical adventure that's happening. And there's actually towards the end of the series, it actually ends up. Okay, wait, this isn't the manga, but anyway, they actually end up saving the day, defeating the demon lord. However, the goblin threat is still there. So, and the demon lord thing only pops up every now and again. I think it's like every 10 years or so.
Yes.
So, everybody's like, yeah, demon lord threat is gone. But the everyday threat of the goblins is still there. Which only a few characters have shown any real interest in it. So far, the only actual characters that I've seen that are actually interested in dealing with the goblins are Goblin Slayer and the priestess to a smaller degree, and Shield Maiden, who is the archbishop of some town. But she has a more personal interest as well, because she herself was a victim of the goblins in her first time out, and she was also green. Her story, the Sword Maiden story, is actually basically what would have happened to the priestess if Goblin Slayer didn't save her. That's basically what it is. If you look at her backstory, it's essentially what happened to the priestess, but she, unfortunately for Sword Maiden, she wasn't saved by somebody. But a lot of people saw that parallel there. So it's Sword Maiden and Goblin Slayer are the only ones who really recognize the true threat that the goblins are. And then Sword Maiden does do a bit of a little dodgy, underhanded thing to deal with them by which she kind of tricks Goblin Slayer a little bit to come to her place to deal with her goblins in a way. She brings him down to false pretenses. Um, and Goblin Slayer finds out about it. He confronts her about it, but he's not so much upset about it so much as I feel like he's like, hey, if you just told me straight up that this is what he would have come here with the goblins anyway, you know. But that, but you know, but he's not really upset. It's like, okay, whatever, I get it. You did what you had to do, whatever, So he's not really all that upset about it. But what I really like though about this show is Goblin Slayer's resolve. How he's just so focused, that nothing really distracts him from achieving his goal. It's in many ways, and a lot of people have already made this comparison. He's kind of like the Doom Marine or Doom Slayer from the Doom series.
Yeah,
Specifically Doom Slayer from the new Doom game, Doom Slayer. They are both these guys who have the single goal of eliminating their respective evils. Doom Slayer with the demons, Goblin Slayer with the goblins. And they are the best at it, and they're very effective at their jobs. They're basically like Liam Neeson in Taken. I have a very particular set of skills. And, I'm really good at what I do. So, and in many ways, I just find like Goblin Slayer, if you take his, I guess work ethic, you can accomplish a lot of things in life, Although it also does stress that you shouldn't go too far as well. And I get that message, and I condone having that message in there as well of, don't push yourself to that level, everything in moderation basically. But the show is great. I just love how they built it, and how each character works with the others, how they just interact with each other. And the lore, once you get into the lore as well, is actually quite interesting when you get into the lore of this world. And I also just like the different spin on goblins, because before this show, in most other media, games, video, movies, whatever, whenever I see goblins in there, I always had that thing, goblins, who cares? Those low tier creatures. But now with this Goblin Slayer coming in, and I just changed my view of them, because there are games now that I play, when I encounter goblins, I'm like, are you the way you are presented in this game, or is there more to you guys? And it also gives this thing of like, sometimes that thing that you think is just so, okay, what it was the word for, like, like, it's not something that you should really worry about so much. Sometimes it's a lot more dangerous than you think, like there's more to it than meets the eye, basically, and I don't know, the show is great, and it stays quite faithful to the manga as well. But yeah, obviously with adaptations, there are certain things that get changed and so on. But the changes here aren't so drastic that they ruin the experience. It's actually one of the few adaptations that really sticks to the source material. Certain things are only cut just for make things a lot smoother. It's either to make it the scene smoother, or to make the scene a little longer just to explain things a little better, you know, which I respect in for adaptations when they do that, because for me personally, I feel like an adaptation should it should either be as good as the original or expand on it, you know, and just expand on what the original has already said. You know, what you're adapting should expand on the original thing. Where when I say expand, I mean it's like telling the original story, but at the same time, you're just gonna add things that will either improve on certain scenes that may be lost in translation.
Yeah, give more clarity.
Yeah, on what's happening, you know. And if you're gonna take something out that in the original book was unnecessary, you know. And if you're gonna add something that enhances what's already there, to make it, and it must be relevant, and it shows like, oh, so that's what the artist was trying to do in the original adaptation, that kind of thing. That's how you make an adaptation that's not only just faithful and will make people who are fans of the original, you know, love what the story, but also make people who haven't seen the original enjoy it as well, without them getting confused and wondering what's this character, what's this supposed, what was the guy was trying to say, you know, because people who watch the thing, you know, instead of like checking the books or anything, they don't know anything about what's going on, you know. So that's pretty much what I feel they've done really well in terms of Goblin Slayer, seeing as I've, you know, read the manga and so on. And because I saw this show first and then I read the manga, and I was like, yeah, this is basically what's happened in the TV show, and they did a great job at showing it. Although they did swap certain sections. In the show, you do the Sword Maiden thing earlier than in the book, and then the attack on the farm happens after they meet the sword Maiden. But in the manga, the attack on the farm happens first, and then they go and meet Sword Maiden and do her little quest.
That's an interesting swap.
Yeah, because that's what happened there. So when I was watching the manga, I was like, hey, the farm gets attacked first. What's going on here? But when I read the book and manga, I was like, oh, okay. So that's what happened. It doesn't ruin the experience.
No, I don't
at
see
all.
why it would.
Yeah, it doesn't at all. And quite frankly, whether the attack on the farm happened before or after they go and see Sword Maiden makes no difference. It doesn't change anything. The flow is still the same, you know. And I kind of feel like in the show, it makes a bit more sense in the show, in that it explains, in the show it actually explains how come there's certain skills that the priestess gains during the farm attack, but she doesn't use them when they go and see Sword Maiden, you know. But in the show, you kind of see like, okay, she probably gained these certain skills after she saw Sword Maiden, so it actually kind of makes it that, all right, so you don't get the confusion of like, why didn't they just use that skill during this thing in the, you know. So it kind of cleared up that kind of little plot there. It's not really a big problem issue at all. But no, the show was great. It's a good show.
What I would like to say about Goblin Slayer is, for me personally, I like what he stands for.
Yeah.
And he believes in being righteous, and his personal quest is, in my opinion, a righteous one. He is eradicating evil from the world one day at a time, and he does not care what anybody has to say about that, because the other adventurers, the other high level, silver level adventurers, they actually quite often make fun of him because he won't do anything unless it involves goblins. But what a lot of people might not realize is the goblin quests are not popular quests. Nobody else actually does them much. It's more for low-level adventurers or new adventurers in the world. And, some of these higher level adventurers won't even get up in the morning if they're not going to slay an ogre or something like that. They don't see the goblins as a threat. They don't see it the same way he does, and he does not care about anybody else. He will be a lone wolf, going to do what he believes he has to do, and I really do admire that about his character.
It also makes there's a scene when the farm is gonna get attacked. It makes it a lot more powerful when he actually does ask them for help. Because he actually goes to the guild, and they're all there, and he asks them all to help him defend the farm.
And it means so much to him that when they ask him, "What are you gonna do in return for us?" and he says, "Anything you can ask for anything."
Yeah.
That's how much it means to him. He will give up everything he has to have their assistance, because he knows this is one battle he cannot handle alone.
Yeah. And you gotta get that spear guy, and he helps Goblin Slayer out by in a very subtle, non-direct way, just helping Goblin Slayer by saying that they'll do it for a certain price or reward, and the guild lady picks up on that, and she actually offers everybody a gold coin for every goblin head that the people bring back.
Well, yeah, basically, no. She just says keep a count.
Yeah.
Of your numbers, because for each one you'll get
a gold coin. And the thing that I actually like is that during the actual attack, the adventurers, they get a sense of exactly what it is that Goblin Slayer faces, every day. And I feel like a lot of them gained a bit of respect for him, for what he does, and you actually see that just develop a little bit. Although I don't think, I'm not saying it was everybody just turned, and you're like, oh, Goblin Slayer, you're great, anything like that. But I just feel like they'll be less inclined to actually tease him about what it is that he faces every day. And I feel like that whole moment was actually quite great for him, and also what I also like about Goblin Slayer is the fact that his fighting style and equipment, it just shows how he everything he does is just so specialized for Goblin Slayer, but yeah, I mean, the show is great. There's a lot of messages in there that I feel like people could actually learn from, and I would recommend people to watch the show, but only people who can really handle a lot of the violence in the show. and people who can understand that the stuff that's been shown isn't just shown for the sake of, hey, let's just have this in it. There's actual reason behind what's been shown. It's not just, hey, here's this gratuitous violence for the sake of gratuitous violence. There's a message behind it. There's a reason behind it. There's a narrative reason, and everything is shown like this. Here's this thing, and it's happening because of this, and this is why. We need to stop this. That's the point of it. It's not just there to shock you or anything. There's no. So no, I'd highly recommend this show. And I also say watch this show with a mature mindset. Don't just go in this show just for gratuitous violence or anything like that. That's really it. And I feel that you will enjoy the show quite well, and you'll understand a lot of the frustrations. Although he doesn't really show much frustration in terms of everybody else, because he just doesn't care. He's like, yeah, man, I'm just here to do a job. I'm gonna do it. So yeah, I highly recommend watching this show, and reading the manga if you've got, if you're a manga person. So yeah, it's a definite watch for me. And that would be Goblin Slayer, people. Yeah, I've been your host, Anil Dean.
I've been Stormpool.
Later days.